Hey, good evening. It's Scott Greenway, and we are so glad to see so many people dialing in tonight. Michigan Republican Party delegates, alternates, and activists to hear from Secretary of State candidate, our current Macomb County Clerk, Anthony Forlini. And we're going to get to a lot of your questions tonight. In fact, if you want to be ready to ask the first question, you want to hit *3 now, and you'll be chatting with one of our screeners who will put you into queue, and we'll get to you. But first, we want to hear from Anthony, as he's got a few thoughts he wants to share. He'll have just a few comments, and then we'll get into those calls because I know he really wants to hear from you. So with that, Anthony, take it away.
Well, thanks, Scott. Thank God we got our act together here. I was a little worried I wasn't going to get on the phone, so the pin wasn't working. But I'm Anthony Forlini. I am the Macomb County Clerk currently, and I'm running for Secretary of State. And I'm just tell you a little bit about myself. Been a business owner for the last 40-some years. I've built things. I'm a financial planner. I've done things on the outside world that I felt like I've done pretty good in life, and I wanted to give back. So about 20 years ago, I decided, started off with my local community. Harrison Township was in a bit of trouble, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to get into this political world, and I'm going to help out my local community. And from that, it went from balancing budgets and moving my community forward with $1 million surplus at the end of that first year to then running for state representative and being a state representative for 6 years, serving on appropriations my first 4 years because the state was in big trouble. If anyone remembers the good old days with Jennifer Granholm at the helm, we were just about on the verge of bankruptcy when our group came in and really solved the budgeting problem, which was pretty major. And it seems so long ago and we're so short-sighted, but spending money is really a function of what I do really well, of being able to spend money within my own means. And from that, I did a couple of things. After I left the legislature, I got term limited out and ran for county clerk. And for the third time, I beat an incumbent Democrat to be the county clerk of Macomb, the third largest county in the state of Michigan. Won a couple national awards. Very happy to be where I'm at, but I know that our state is the Secretary of State's office is something that I share with most of the clerks across the state of Michigan, that things just aren't the same. And we need to fix the state of Michigan. We need to fix the things in the Secretary of State's office as it revolves around customer service. But let's not forget about elections. That's a critical point. When I look at the Secretary of State's office, it has somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,500 employees, 40 of which are in elections. And it kind of reminds me of my own office, where I have 100 employees and just 4 are in elections. So the priorities in elections hasn't been a major priority to make sure we put the proper allocations and the proper power and willpower behind making our elections to the point where people feel very, very comfortable. And that's why I've shifted employees around my office to try to do a little better job in having a ton of innovations and enhancements in elections over the last 5 years. So I'm guessing we're going to talk about some of those things as we move forward. But the critical thing about the Secretary of State's office is we need to hit the ground running, because we talk about the 2026 election. The 2026 election really is about a 2027 candidate in Secretary of State, because we don't take office until January 1st, 2027. And when that happens, we are going to be in a position where we need to hit the ground running. We can't get in there with training wheels and try to learn the job. We have to hit the ground running. And the things that we have done in the clerk's office over the last 5 years are things that we can implement day one and then start fixing everything else. I'll just tell you, one of the things I'm very proud of in Macomb County is the fact we did win national awards. And it's because of things like we took customer service where people come in. They used to have an appointment only. They can come in with or without an appointment. The average time is under 4 minutes by the time they're served. And by the time they leave that counter, it's under 10 minutes. We really have a turnkey operation. We have some fantastic people that do just a wonderful job. And it shows. It shows in their attitude because they feel good about what they do. I had a clerk downriver that mentioned to me her son came to our CPL department and was really not looking forward to coming into a government office, called his mom and says, "Mom, I got to tell you something. They got a turnkey operation." It was just a great experience, friendly people, and I was in and out in 10 minutes. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our people. And the other thing we do is we answer the phone. 90% of all phone calls get answered by our office, and that's all during the day, and it's by somebody that understands what they're doing. How refreshing would that be if we can turn our Secretary of State's office into an office that responds like that? And that's our plan. So what I'd like to do is maybe take some questions now, and I can talk about a bunch of stuff, but I think this time around I want to make sure I get to as many questions as we can. Scott, you got anybody?
Yeah, we do. They're already lining up, and for everybody who's joining the call, we're close to 100 people already on. It is *3, so please press *3 to get to ask Anthony a question, and he's not shy. Ask him anything. He's been one of the more open and transparent candidates I've seen in all my time of being involved in politics. So let's get him some questions. We've got some right now. I've got.
Don't be too generous,
Joe.
Scott. I don't want him to be too tough.
Oh no, it's okay. I've got Joe from West Michigan, and she wants to talk, I think, about ballot verifier. So Joe, you should be live.
Thanks for having us on again. I appreciate that. And I was wondering, you have been very innovative in all of the things that you've implemented in the clerk's office. Could you tell us a little bit about ballot verifier and also, if you have time, the benefit of watermarked ballots?
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic, Joe. Well, thanks for that question, because I'll tell you, ballot verifier, we're the first in Michigan to implement this. It's a program. What is the biggest thing people are asking for? Hey, listen, when I put my ballot into the tabulator, how do I know that tabulator is working? How do I know that tabulator actually scored my ballot the right way? And that's been a mystery for most everybody. They just trust the system. And I like the fact that we should be able to trust the system, but we need to be able to verify. And so what ballot verifier does is we take, and keep in mind, this is all anonymous. Your vote is confidential, but you can look up right now, go to the Macomb County Clerk's website. You can take a look at it right now. You can see the last election. We've got the ballots up there, and what it's going to show you is on the right side the actual ballot that somebody filled out, and it's going to have the squiggly marks through the bullets, and it's going to tell you, all right, this is what somebody voted. It's an actual ballot, an image of a ballot at 200 DPI. It's a PDF. On the left side of the screen, it's going to show you how that tabulator looked at that ballot and scored it. So you know that ballot, who you don't know whose ballot it is, was scored a certain way with that tabulator. And you go ballot after ballot after ballot. And what's kind of interesting is when you go down, you'll see there's some write-in candidates and what have you, and it's going to take a look at those also. But the other thing, I've had people say, well, how do I know that came from the tabulator that we're using? Well, that tabulator serial number is listed on the left side, and it tells you that the tabulator, the serial number, so you know it's that tabulator that was used on Election Day. So you're never going to get rid of all fraud, but what we can do is put a little light on it, put a little light on our elections, and let people understand a little bit more about their elections and have trust in it. Trust but verify. So that's a critical element. And the other part of your question, Joe, was regarding the watermark ballots. Watermark ballots was something we started in 2024, and really it brings into the sanctity of the ballot. Just like if you look at a $100 bill, you put it up to a light, a $20 bill, you look at it, you can see a watermark. That means it's authentic. It's an authentic Bill, just like the ballots now. These are authentic ballots that are watermarked. You take any ballot in Macomb County, put it up to the light, you'll see the watermark. That means it's an official paper, and you've got a ballot that you have a little bit more trust in. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thanks a lot. We've got Sherry from Mid-Michigan. She wants to talk about Eric, and I'm pretty sure we know that that's not an individual, but it's a system. So, Sherry, you should be live now.
All right, great. Thank you, Scott. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear
Loud
you.
and clear.
Wonderful. Hey, Tony, Sherry Ritchie in Eaton County. Long time no see.
Sherry?
Hey. I wanted to ask you about ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center, and what your thoughts are about it. Anything you want to share about how it works or doesn't work for us, and what your plans are to do with it once you're elected?
Well, there's a lot of concerns with ERIC. There was at one time, I believe, 33 states that were involved, and it was a method so that states can share amongst each other where people moved, where they're at. And unfortunately, through the years, it's gotten to the point where it's becoming a little bit more, or maybe a lot more of a lightning rod, because it's what many consider a very liberal group that's taken it over. And when we look at it, you look at withdrawals just in the last few years, there's been 9 states that left: Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, Missouri, West Virginia, Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, Texas, have all left. And now we're left with a system that does not have the depth that it once had. And so I really believe what we need to do is move to a federal system. President Trump had talked about this, about doing a federal system that's run by the government, that is maybe a system that states can check a database and see where people are and cross-check it that way without turning to an outside company where there maybe is some data privacy concerns and where this information is going. So that distrust in the outside influence is what really has driven this. And so here we are today with a system that really hasn't performed to the point where it once was considered a system that was going to help us. And I don't know that it's much of a help anymore.
Excellent. Thanks very much. We've got John from Mecosta County, and I'll remind everybody that's listening in, hit *3, and that'll get you in queue and get you a chance to ask Anthony a question. But John, he wants to know about step-by-step processes to make sure we've got verifiable elections. So, John, you should be live.
Okay, what I'm wondering is, West Michigan Live today, Barkley had a guy who his 17-year-old daughter have a application for a ballot. I have a friend who has a person they bought the house from 30 years ago, and they received a voter ID from the municipality. Getting with them, the Secretary of State's office, no one wants to do nothing about it. What is your step-by-step process to get us from where we are to a process that's out of control to where we want and need to be to have a verifiable election that we can trust?
You've said it. It's incremental changes, okay? We need to make incremental changes. In Macomb County, we try to look at this as a step-by-step process. How do we fix the system? Now, what you brought up was the database, the QVF. The QVF is a system that is maintained by both the locals as well as the state. And as you know, back in 2020, a lot of people were dumped into the system, and the system was somewhat compromised. I've heard committee hearings in Lansing where a state representative talked about her time as a clerk, and people that were removed because of death out of the database were all of a sudden put back in by a Secretary of State's office. Why this is happening is beyond me. This shouldn't happen. In Macomb County, we removed over 300 people from the database. We just did a little check on people over the age of 100. And of 600 people, there was close to 300 that we removed off of the database that were no longer with us. These kinds of things shouldn't happen. And how about recently we're finding simple things like when people sign up for their driver's license, the questions asked, are you a citizen or are you not a U.S. citizen? If you check no, why are these people showing up in the jury pool? We should demand that the Secretary of State, right now, this could be fixed. I believe this could be fixed right now. Get all these non-citizens off of the jury pool, because that's part of the reason these things are being corrupted. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the QVF. It's a hornet's nest, and it's going to be quite a task to clean that part of it up. But the other part of it is actually, it comes down to election days and the things that we can do ourselves at the local level. And over the last 5 years, we've done over 13 different reforms and changes in Macomb County to try to bring accountability, try to bring transparency, try to bring more of a confidence to the residents of Macomb County that they can trust in their elections. And again, I said it before, are these things going to get rid of all fraud? No, but we have to close the holes anywhere we can. And the story you're telling of people getting these, voter ID cards and these things that they've been gone for a long time is the hornet's nest. We're going to have to get into office. So we're going to have to clean that up, and it really starts at the Secretary of State's office and follows through the entire system, including the local clerks and the county clerks.
Absolutely. Thanks. I want to remind everybody, *3 to ask questions to get online. We're also monitoring our Facebook Messenger during this call, as we did during the last call. I wanted to mention that. I forgot to mention it off the top, but if, as we've got a lot of people in queue, if you want to shoot in your question via Facebook Messenger, we were able to get some of those questions asked to Anthony last time as well. Our next caller is Michelle, and she's from Macomb County, and she's got a very basic question about why you're doing this. So, Michelle, you should be live.
Hi, hello, Tony. First of
Sure.
all, I would love to just thank you for taking the time to host these teleconferences. I feel like it really means a lot to those of us who take our vote seriously. So thank you. I just wanted to ask you about something that you mentioned at an event. You had said previously that running for Secretary of State would actually be a pay cut from what you're making as clerk, and that the position had like term limits, while your clerk role doesn't. Also, your current commute is only 5 minutes. So these few things, I'm just kind of curious. I would love to know. I'd love to get a sense of like what ultimately made you decide to run for Secretary of State.
You want to make sure I have a certain level of sanity, is what you're trying to say.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Who would do something like that? Well, when I was a township supervisor, which is really one of the toughest jobs I've ever had. I remember coming in, the pay was $55,000, which was pretty low at that time. Now, I've been fortunate through life. I've been able to do things that I promised myself I would not get into politics until my kids' college was taken care of, my retirement was well along, my house was paid off. There are certain things, parameters I promised myself, because I didn't want to look at our constituents like a steak sandwich. I wanted to look at them like, I'm here to serve. I've done well in life. Let me give back. And so being a county clerk, I'm one of those kind of guys that's, hey, let's just get it done. Let's fix things. And that's really my entire career. Even the time I was with Candace Miller, the couple of years I was with her at Public Works, I was just there to fix things. And then once they were fixed, I was able to move on. And so that's what it's about. We can do a lot of things in Macomb County, and we have. We've won these national awards. We've done these things, and this is great, and we can continue it on. But we got to a lot of things we fixed here because it was just YouTube it. Look at Macomb County, where they were before and where they are now. I feel very proud of our organization and proud of the things we've done. But now I look at the Secretary of State's office, and there really is a certain amount of, sense of duty, right? That there are things that need to get done there, and I just felt like somebody needed to step up with some experience, with the ability to look at things and fix things. And not in a controversial way, but in a way that makes sense for all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, that we can fix the state of Michigan. And that, to me, is the ultimate challenge. The Secretary of State's office pays less. I'm okay with the pay I'm making. I'm okay with the pay that I would make in the future. I've taken a vow to the Constitution, whatnot, that I'm going to uphold the Constitution and do what I can to make my position, whatever it is, better. And we've done this in Macomb, and I really want to do this again. I look at it as a challenge and something I really look forward to getting in and fixing. And am I putting myself in the crosshairs of many people? Yeah, you better believe it. But somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to do it, and that's where I'm at. I feel as if I've got a bit of a calling just to get in and get things fixed. And the fact that it's term limited I'm okay with that. I've been in that position before, and I've term limited myself several times. So I'm okay with that. So my wife will, however, to make a shorter answer, she calls it temporary insanity.
That's great. Well, we've got a caller here that I know well, and I think probably knows more about the Office of Secretary of State than anybody, because this individual has worked for 5, I believe, Secretary of States from Ingham County, Linda Lee. And Linda Lee has a couple questions for us today. So, Linda Lee, you should be live.
Hello, Tony. Thank you so much for hosting this call, and I appreciate you. I support you and all that you're doing.
Thank you. I fear you because you know the insides and outsides, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to answer your questions, whatever they might be.
Well, I missed the watermark question, so I apologize for that. But I'm calling for 2 questions. The first one is, we know definitively that there is an issue with multiple ballots being run through the tabulator more than one time. 300 votes or 500 votes are count, but only 100 ballots. So that has been a problem. Will the tabulators be reconfigured to ensure that a ballot that goes in one time cannot be reinserted again? And then the second question deals with the fact that the 2 people that I worked with were contemporaries, very great secretaries of state. Terry Lynn Land was the clerk of Kent County, and Ruth Johnson was the clerk of Oakland County. And I wanted to know from you your thoughts on the equivalence to comparisons between your role as a county clerk and the Secretary of State, because I have seen great results. I've seen the work that they do for licensing, regulation, customer service, election oversight, and the like. And I wanted to get your experience and thoughts on how that is a natural promotion to Secretary of State. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Well, let's talk about the tabulators and some of the mistakes that can happen. And I'll tell you, in Macomb County, we've got some awesome local clerks, and almost without exception, when we get our ballots in, they balance out. And when they don't balance out, they fix them before they bring them to us. And that's really good, hard work, but it's work before the election, right? It's the training, it's the things that go into it that nobody thinks about, that these clerks have to go through to ensure you have, and the election workers, to ensure you have a good election. Now, as far as looking to the future, these tabulators we have are 10 years old, and they're coming to the end of their life. And currently, the Secretary of State's gone out for an RFP, and those closed February the 25th, I believe. And so the companies that put their bids in to be the next tabulator companies are going to have to step up to a higher standard that is going on the federal level. And I'm kind of excited for this. I'm kind of excited because the security and the transparency, I know it's going to increase, and it's going to provide us with a better alternative than we have right now. Think about 10 years ago, all these questions we have about elections did not exist. And so a lot has come about since then, and there's a lot of distrust. So hopefully these requests for proposals are coming in, and the companies, and I've talked to several of them, their upgraded tabulators are really stepping up tremendously. And I think some of the mistakes you've seen in the past are going to be corrected. We hope, but it comes down to just that. More than that, it's training. It's making sure people know what to do when things go wrong and how to fix it. And as far as the comparisons between the county clerk and the Secretary of State, there's no other position that aligns more than those two offices. We are a front-facing organization, the county clerk, as is the Secretary of State. That our customers are our citizens, people that need our services, things that they need to get on with their life, right? If they can't get their driver's license, they got problems. If they can't get their tabs or their license plates, they've got problems. And so and that's just a small part of it. And so the same thing holds true with our office. We take care of vital records, the birth certificates, the death certificates, CPLs, marriage certificates. They come to our office, and they're expecting to come in our office, take care of business, and leave. We need to have that same type of attitude with the Secretary of State's office, where they can show up, appointment or no appointment. We need to figure out, like we did in Macomb County, how to get people out the door quicker, how to help them so that when they come up to the counter, they're ready to go, and they can get their documents right away and get on with their life. We were experts at that. When they call our office, I said earlier, 98% of the time, we answer the phone call the first time, no voicemail. Our people are friendly, they take care of you, and we get on with business, and you get on with business. That is what the Secretary of State's office needs to look at themselves and say, we're going to be the same way. We're going to be like Macomb County. We're going to take care of people in a quick, efficient way, and we're going to make their life better. They're going to be happy when they come to the office, and when they leave, they're going to say, boy, that was a great experience. That's my goal, and we've done it in the past. We'll do it again. So,
it's great.
Thank you for that question.
I want to remind everybody, *3, or you can send your question in via Facebook Messenger, and I've got one of those that I want to ask because it's I think this is probably from somebody from Macomb based on the phrasing, but their question, Anthony, is what happens to the clerk position when you're elected Secretary of State? I think the Macomb delegate here in this case doesn't want to lose you locally. So how's that position get filled in Macomb County?
Well, you know what? Listen, nothing is forever, right? And I'm not forever. The next person's not forever. The person before me wasn't forever. We've done a great job. My job is to get in here, get it done, and I am very comfortable with the staff we have in the systems we set up. So the next person, they'll have a high bar, and they'll have a bar that is a bar that is running in an organization that's running very good. I got to believe we have some good people in Macomb County, very quality, good people. Of course, what happens in the case if I were to win Secretary of State, the judges, the circuit court judges, would appoint somebody. And what happened last time was they appointed somebody interim that was not running. That way they didn't put their thumb on the scale, and they put somebody in place that was going to run it until there was an election. And I think that's probably a smart way of going about it. I would guess I would support that. Get somebody that's inside the organization right now, that's a part of the team, let them run it for the time period until there's another election. So I have a lot of confidence in people, and I sure hope somebody doesn't come in and screw it up. I don't think so, though.
That's great. I know as Secretary of State, you'll be around to support them as well. So
that's right.
That'll be a good thing. Hey, we've got a question from Wayne, who I think is over in the southeast part of the state. He is curious about, there have been some illegal things done by the Democrats. What are you going to do about them if you have a chance to? So we'll let Wayne go ahead and state that maybe better than I did based on the notes. But Wayne, you're live.
Wayne?
You said Wayne, but my name is William. But if I'm live,
I got a typo here on my screen. I apologize.
No problem. It happens to the best of us. Well, with all the shenanigans that have happened, I've worked the Detroit elections for the last 15 years, and all the shenanigans that Detroit does, especially with the absentee counting board. What do you plan on doing to fix and go after Benson for all the things that she has done to corrupt our elections? And I also want to know what you plan on doing for chain of custody, especially for the absentee ballot, which currently there is no chain of custody. And we also, as a poll challenger, we also cannot go into the clerk's office and watch the signature verification process. It's sorry for the three-pronged question, but these are things that are near and dear to me.
But give me your name, because I'm seeing Wayne, and I don't want to call you Wayne because that's not your name.
That's William.
William. Okay, William.
Yes, no problem.
Sorry about that. Well,
no problem.
So let me just remind you, and there's a lot of work that's going to need to get done. When I get into office, the first thing we're going to do is get a lay of the land, see what's going on. We're going to take the things that we've done in Macomb and apply them across the state. And part of that is protocols and doing things the right way. As far as going after things that are blatantly illegal, of course, that's the Attorney General. Anything that was done that was blatantly illegal, I will send over to the Attorney General, whoever it might be at the time, and they're going to have to, say, I'll turn it over, just like we did in Macomb. We had people that voted twice in one of our communities, and we turned over both the election workers as well as the individuals that voted twice to the prosecutor. And so I've got a history of doing exactly that. And, that's different than, doing things that maybe weren't the way I'd like to see them. If it's on the edge of whether it's legal or not legal, I'm going to leave that up for somebody else to determine. But we have got to focus our attention in fixing what's there and moving forward, because 2028 starts January 1st, 2027. Remember that. It starts right away. And so we need to get into office and get things fixed. There's things that were illegal from the past, pass it on to the prosecutor, the Attorney General, and let them look at it and spend their time on it. My time is going to be spent looking forward, fixing what I believe is broken, adding transparency to where darkness has overshadowed our elections. And so that's going to be my focus. And if there was something that was illegal or done, we'll have it handled. That's for sure. And particularly when I'm starting to see, I was just looking at some news article the other day where there's absentee ballots that were FOIA'd in Wayne County, and for God's sakes, there's no signature on the absentee ballot, and no clerk actually signed off on it. And I think, how is that even possible? I cannot imagine something like that happening in Macomb County. For God's sakes, I would hope it never did happen in Macomb County. But I mean, I'm certain it did not. But for this to happen, something in the system is wrong, and it's got to be fixed. And protocols have to be put in place to do a better job looking at these envelopes, automatic rejections of these absentee ballots, and the envelopes if they're not properly signed and taken care of. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes tenacity. And we're going to make everyone step up a bit and take their job very responsibly and go after this, because we cannot let this happen anymore. The integrity of our elections is really centered around the clerks and the Secretary of State's office, that we do everything within our power to ensure the integrity of our elections going forward. And you know, I want to get a hat. I want to get it. Scott, you got to get me this hat. I'm going to make you buy me one. Make elections boring again. Because
absolutely,
if they're boring, that means we've done our job and people are getting on with their life with something else.
I like it. I'll get you that hat for sure.
I think we're a long way from that, though.
Yeah. You got a little work to do first, but you'll get there.
Right.
Hey,
right.
We got a great
Thanks,
Facebook. We got a great Facebook question here from Delegate in Mid-Michigan, and this is something that we have talked a little bit about, but not a ton about during the campaign. What qualifications do you have and experience do you have overseeing large budgets? The Department of State's budget for the fiscal year 25-26 is close to $300 million. Do you think some dozing is needed? And do you have the financial experience like former Secretary of State Candace Miller did when she came into office?
Well, I got to tell you, and Candace will even verify this, when I went into her office and looked at her outside operations and what we did there to really clean up what was going on. It's a public works office. But, you know, that's been my forte. You know, I'm a financial planner by trade. And so when I went into my elected office of township supervisor, we were told we were going to have to really increase the millage quite a bit, because we were going through a period of time, if you remember, during the Granholm years, where property values were falling pretty significantly. Local communities were having a hard time coming up with budgeting or balancing their budgets. And I thought, my God, what are we going to do? And so I went line by line. I mean, line by line, talking about a brutal budget process, but where my finance director had said that we were going to need to look for a fairly large millage just to stay afloat, we actually were able to pull it off and end up with $1 million surplus at the end of the first year. And that's the first element. When I became a state representative, they knew some of that, and they put me on appropriations. And I did manage very large budgets, and I got a bunch of stories to tell there, but I know I won't have enough time to get through some of the things we did. But I can tell you that my first budget, Lara, which wasn't a very large budget, but it was multi-millions of dollars, and we were able to carve $2 million out of it. And there's more to that story, but the important thing is that's what I do. When I first got into the clerk's office, there were contracts that had been signed a year before, and I don't believe these companies lived up to what they were supposed to do. And when they came back for a $400,000 second year, I withheld the money and negotiated about a $200,000 reduction from the year before, from what they didn't do the year before. These are the things I love doing. In my office, I'll never forget the look on their face when I renegotiated the renewal. They gave us a 5% per year, and there was no way I was going to pay that, and went back and negotiated and got 0% over and we're in it right now in a 3-year time period. That's what I do. I love budgets. I love negotiating these things and getting better contracts, good contracts, And don't believe me, ask anybody in my office, they'll tell you. I'm a budget hawk.
Kind of sounds like you dozed before the term became popular, huh?
To me, it's fun. It's fun to find this kind of stuff because it's really easy to find in government. Really easy.
It's great. Hey, we've got a caller from Monroe County, and she is going to want to know some specifics on cleaning up the voter databases and better ways to verify voters. So, Susan, you are live with Anthony.
All right. Thank you. Hi, Mr.
Hey,
Forlini,
Susan.
and I appreciate the call. So I'm just thinking, here we are, a state of 10 million people, so the voter rolls can't be more than 7-8 million records. In the grand scheme of things, it should be something that's doable for cleansing the data. I'm just curious, if you don't use ERIC, sounds like that system's not really useful. Is there a federal system? Is there another way to determine, A, it's a citizen, B, they're at the right age, C, God forbid they're still alive, all the things that
Sure.
we're seeing that corrupt Democrats do. How can we avoid that?
Well, I think there's a multifaceted approach that I'm looking at, and one, there's databases that are out there, federal and state, local databases, where we can start cross-checking these things and weed out the suspected citizens that are no longer with us, or moved out of state, or are not citizens. That non-citizen one really irks me, because that's something that we stumbled upon in the clerk's office just this past year, the past few months really, where we're finding non-citizens in the jury pool. And last year we found over 640 non-citizens in the jury pool. And I'm thinking, how did they get there? Because when you think about when you sign to get your driver's license, that's the first question you have. One of the first questions, are you a U.S. citizen? And if you answer no, how the heck are they getting into the jury pool? Where we get them, and then they're self-proclaiming, exiting themselves by showing us their green card. But why are we going through all that work to do this when the Secretary of State's office has this information right up front? And really, I don't even think we should be waiting to get an office for that part of it to be cleaned up. I'm telling you right now, the Secretary of State's office really needs to do this now. They've got the information. Don't send these people to us in the jury pools that are not citizens. That's ridiculous. We're expected to be judged by our peers, American peers, not the non-citizens. And I'm not talking about illegals. I'm talking about people that are here legally but are not citizens. They are not to be in our jury pool. So there's all these different elements, and honestly, we got to take a look at how we're registering people, because there's people. There's a Pastor Sewell in Detroit who's got some circuit court cases where homeless people were registered to vote. Where are their ballots going if they're homeless? Where are they going? And by the way, these people, the circuit court cases are saying that these people voted, yet they claim they've never voted. Think about that. If you have a homeless person, they have the right to vote. Don't get me wrong. But their absentee ballots, where are they going? Where are they going? Who is getting them? That's a question we're going to have to answer, and part of the cleanup that has to happen. So, but thanks for the question. There's probably things we're not thinking of right now that we can do, that we're going to put anything and everything in place to clean these voting rolls.
We've got a lot of people. We've got a lot of people still on the line, which is great. We appreciate everybody staying around for what looks like the first full hour, or at least the first 45 minutes so far. I don't think we're likely to get anybody else in queue, but you can hit *3, and if it works out, we'll try and get you online. We've got some Facebook messages coming in too with questions still. which is great. So we appreciate everybody being so engaged in tonight's call, and certainly the raw number of people. Sandy from Muskegon County had a somewhat similar question to something you addressed earlier, talking about states interacting with each other and voter rolls and maybe different ways to do that. So Sandy from Muskegon, you should be live.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sandy.
Yes, I'm wondering, do states interact with each other in regards to voter rolls?
Well, and that's what Eric was initially set up to do, was to interact with each other and keep the voting rolls clean. And unfortunately, their role expanded and caused a lot of heartburn with many of the more conservative states saying that they're using this information for other means. And so really what we need to do is have a 50-state system where we know where people are voting, where they're going. How about the same-day registration with these kids on the college campuses where they're lined up to vote? How do we know if they've already voted in their home state? How do we know? If it's the same-day registration, who's checking that? How can we check it? This is why I think there needs to be some kind of a nationwide system where if you voted in one state, you cannot vote in another. And this same-day registration on Election Day, I think we as Michigan citizens need to look at this because it's in the Constitution now. We need to take a look at this and say, you know what, that's an unfair thing to put on local clerks where people are coming into the local clerk's office on Election Day, registering to vote and casting a ballot with very little background that we know of them. Did they vote somewhere else? And particularly this is happening on college campuses. Maybe when this first came up, there were some good intentions, but a lot of bad things have happened, I think, because of it. So we really need to, President Trump has talked about this, about having a national database that if you voted somewhere else, it's checked off and you can't vote. We got to have a better tracking system. It was okay when there wasn't same day registration and voting, but now that we have that, I think we've got to rethink what we're doing.
Anthony, a really good Facebook question came in that kind of taps on a previous position you had. You spent time in the state legislature. How do you envision that assisting you in working on getting different laws changed that would apply to all parts of the Secretary of State's office and their responsibility, but especially with regard to election situations and penalties? Kind of paraphrasing.
Well, Sure. The Secretary of State's office really should be a partner in all this. And the Secretary of State is a very powerful position, and it's an executive level position. You know, when the governor and the lieutenant governor are not in the state, guess who's the governor? The Secretary of State. So you have to have a lot of confidence with who that person is and their experiences. I've got legislative experience. I've written laws. Our current Secretary of State has not, and that's why she bypasses a lot of times the legislature to do the things she needs to get done. And it's not how you do those things on small items. She's been doing big items and did not involve the legislature in a fair way. We need to change laws. We need to put things in place. We need to fix something that nobody's thinking about is a couple things. Campaign finance. There's a lot of old laws on the books that really need to be modified and updated to help the local county clerks do their job better, more efficiently, eliminate bureaucracy. But the other thing that nobody's talking about but myself is the Office of the Great Seal. We just had a MARD conference, Michigan Association of Register of Deeds. There is fraud going on in the state regarding titles of property, and it's because the notary laws are ancient, and the bad guys have picked up on it and know that they can forge signatures and there's very little accountability, very little ability to go back and find these people. We need to completely restructure that department, because if we have dirty deeds in our office, except the register of deeds, a lot of confidence is going to be lost. And we are the keeper of that. We are the group that maintains your properties, and the office of the Great Seal has been neglected for many, many years, and that is going to be a top priority when I get in there, to find ways. Because I just sent I think the email went out today. Who is notarizing the notaries? How do you know if a notary is good? It's a serious issue. It's a serious issue that is going to be one of the first things that we're going to take on when we get into office. And it's going to take legislative approval on some things. And I've got more than a few friends there, and we're going to get things done. And so that background is very important.
Yeah, for sure. We've only got a few minutes left, and we'll be out of time for this evening's call. The good news is Anthony is extremely accessible as a candidate. He's extremely transparent as a candidate. He's got a phone number that's direct to him on his website, anthonyforlini.com. So you can call him, and you don't need to worry about it going to staff or to me or anybody. It goes right to him. You can email him in questions, and he answers directly, again, through his website. You can message him on social media, and he handles most of those on his own. And, of course, you can see him at the many, many events that he's been. He's been in every part of this state, from Houghton, way up in the UP, all the way down to Monroe, all the way over to, the southwest part of the state with Berrien and Niles and what have you, up to the tip of the thumb. So he's very available. He's got a number of events between now and the endorsement convention on the 28th, and he'll be doing another one of these tele-town halls, and we will announce that shortly. We also recorded the first tele-town hall that he did, and are going to be putting that around on his website, on social media, and via email, so that you can take a look at that and listen to that, I should say, if you didn't have a chance to join us for the first one. But Anthony, we've got about 5 minutes left. I just wanted to let you kind of share any final thoughts you've got, and kind of wrap things up for this evening. To all the callers that are still in queue that we didn't get a chance to get to, we apologize. We had such a large turnout for this tele-town hall that we couldn't get to all of you, but please email those questions in, and Anthony will answer them and get right back to you as quickly as scheduling allows. But in the meantime, take us home, Anthony. Wrap us up tonight.
I appreciate, first off, everybody that's been online with us and listening. I really do appreciate it, because it's I was a little concerned that we're prime time TV at 8 o'clock. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, because you can watch anything you want, anytime you want. But I do appreciate at this late hour people that have stayed with us and are still on. This is a critically important election, and when we think back through the years, the Secretary of States that we've had that were Republican were countywide elected officials, starting with Candace Miller, and she was the treasurer of Macomb County. Terry Lynn Land, who is the clerk of Kent County. Both did fantastic. And then, of course, Ruth Johnson came in and no drama, just get the job done. And here's the critical thing. They won their elections. Since then, we haven't put up countywide elected officials, and we haven't been winning these races. And as far as the current Secretary of State, wasn't a county clerk before coming in. And so some of the things and some of the problems you're seeing are the result of not having that experience, not having that background. And I think that's what gives me a little bit of an advantage in this race. You certainly know we're probably going to be outspent this fall. I hope not, but and so we need to have a candidate that comes in with a large voter base, a candidate that understands the position, a candidate that's run good size elections. My last election, I won by 270-some thousand votes. I didn't win by, but that's how many votes I got. And I think that this is what we have right now, our best hand. I believe it gives us the best opportunity to win in November. And I certainly hope the delegates that are on the phone and listening think about that, because we need to put our best foot forward. And no disrespect to anybody that's in this race. I personally like the other two people that are also running for Secretary of State. And I don't call them my opponents. There are two other individuals running. And so we have a decent relationship that, we've been on the road. We see each other almost all the time. But it's you, the delegates, that are going to decide who's going to move forward, who's going to represent them in November, and who gives us the best opportunity to win in November. And I hope when you go through that thought process, I hope that, it's the vote is for this Italian guy, Tony Forlini. And if you want to learn more about who I am and what I've done, like Scott said, feel free to reach out and call me, send an email. I love talking to people. I'm certainly going to be making plenty of phone calls. I have been. I know I've talked to many of you already, and ask all these tough questions, because this is a critical race. This is a race that is probably, if done right, is going to be the next 8 years. And we just want to fix it. We want to fix it for all Americans, all Michiganders, everybody, so that we have good elections, good service. And it's not about being a politician or anything like that. It's about you're expecting me, and this is the way I look at it right now as a clerk's office, to provide a service to you. That's why you elected me, not to be political, but to be responsive. And so that's what I bring to the table, and I appreciate everybody that's been listening. My website is anthonyforlini.com. Check it out. If you like what you hear and you want to help us, we can certainly use the help. If we can use any donations that you might have, that it can help us, because it's gonna take a lot of money, a lot of time. Like Scott said, I've gone from one end of the state to the other. I bought my Stormy Cromer up by Iron Mountain, and I trip up to the UP. Never heard of a Stormy Cromer ever, and I bought one. I brought it down, and I showed my wife, and she looked at me. She says, "You're kidding me." I says, "You can't believe how warm this hat is." So I'm a proud owner of a Stormy Cromer. So listen, and that's the advantages of traveling the state. We go from one end of the town to the other, one end of the state to the other, meet a lot of fine people, and I look forward to seeing more as we go. But thank you so much.
Everybody have a great night. Thanks for staying on so long. And you'll be hearing from us on another one of these again soon, as well as hearing from Tony on your phone and seeing him at events as we work toward the Michigan Republican Convention on March 28th. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.